Hello. I don't really know where to start with this, but I'm just gonna start. So, okay, I just contradicted myself. So anyways, here is how to really just use particles. So yeah. So first you want to select part, so this, and you can really choose any of these, but I recommend starting with block. Well, we have our part here. You'll notice in the side where it says Explorer, there's this thing called Workspace. Once you click on your part, it's going to highlight blue. So if I click off, here, let me just click off. I don't know how to click off, actually. But whatever part you select, it will be highlighted blue. So if I click on this, this will be highlighted blue. So we want to select this part, and I'm just gonna name it. So to name stuff, just press enter. I'm just gonna name it Sky's part, because why not? So that's my part. Now, a part is the base of what you need to actually add a particle. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna press this plus right here, and remember this is gonna be on this part, and we want to go here where it says search object and search up particle emitter. Oops, I spelled that wrong, of course. Now you don't have to type in the full thing, you can just type in like PA, and it's like right here. So now we have particles. Now you'll notice it's quite ugly because there's a lot of stuff we can do with this, and I mean a lot. And I'm not gonna go through like flip books and stuff. I'll make kind of a more advanced video later, but I'm just gonna go through the basics. I might cover like color changing and stuff, but yeah. So first, when I say color changing, I mean like the graph stuff, but basic color changing. So first, we can change the color by clicking on this, and then we can use this and kind of pick a color we want. So I'm gonna go with like kind of a nice sky blue, and you can see sky blue, of course. You can see it right here. Then once we're done, we're gonna press OK. And now it's this kind of teal sky blue color, whatever you want to call it. Now, I'm gonna just go like down. So I'm gonna start up here and slowly move down. I'm not gonna skip anything. Light emission. Basically how bright it is. Pretty self-explanatory. If you make it that, it's gonna be a lot brighter. If you make it 0.5, it's gonna be kind of bright. If you make it 0, it's not bright at all. One interesting thing about this, if I set my color to 0 and make this, if I set my color to white and I make the light emission 0, it looks like this. If I make it 1, you see how it's brighter? But then watch this. If it's 1, if I turn to black, it goes invisible. But if this is 0, then it's not invisible. So just be wary of that. It's not a bug. It's like, yeah. So if that ever happens, it's not a bug. That's how it works. Alright, light influence, I'm going to skip that. That's basically pretty self-explanatory how light influences it. I don't even really know myself. But yeah. Orientation I'm going to skip because it gets a little more... Because it gets a little more advanced, so I'm gonna skip that. So that's pretty self-explanatory. This is how we can make it bigger. So I could do 10 and it's giant. I could do 0.2 and it's tiny. And I'm gonna come back to this because you'll notice there's like, once you click on size, there's these 3 dots. I will come back on that, to that. Squash. Squashes the particle. 1 does that. -1 does that. -10. Oops. -10. Very much squashed horizontally. 10. Very much squashed vertically. Important sometimes, but I don't usually use it. Texture. Okay. This is really fun. Oh, I have a little texture right here. And I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. So, what we're going to do is we are going to come over to this part. I don't know why I can't click on stuff right now in the workspace. Usually I can. This is called the workspace, by the way. I don't know why I can't. Like, I can't click on this, so I'm just going to click on it up here. So, this part, I'll just call it textures so you guys can see. So, what we're going to do is we are going to click here. So this is if you have like a texture pack or a texture board. So yeah, if you just have a lot of textures. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on it. We're going to click this drop down, and where it says decal, we're going to come over here, and you see this little asset ID. You're going to copy that. Now, we're going to go back over to this part. Like I said, I can't click stuff for some reason, so skies part. Then we're going to go back to particle emitter. Then where it says texture, we're going to delete all this and replace it with what I just copied. Now look, we have this little glowy thing. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is we can go to the Roblox Creator Hub, and then we can just search up stuff and find stuff. So we can go to decal right here. Then let's just type in sparkle. Oops, I spelt that horribly, but you know, it actually kind of works. And let's say I like this one. So we're gonna go here. You can copy the whole thing, but this number is the most important thing. So you can copy this entire thing, but you really only need to copy this number. So we're gonna copy this number. We're going to go back to Studio, paste it into here, and there we go. Now, I'm gonna do something with everything that we've learned so far. I'm just gonna make my little own thing. So let's go 0.5. Oh, wait, actually, no, I haven't gone over everything yet. Hold on, never mind. So, after texture, we have transparency. Basically how opaque or invisible it is. 0, completely visible. 1, completely invisible. 0.5, in between. So we could do like 0.8, so mostly invisible. 0.2, mostly visible. You can kind of see how you can see through it. I can't pause this, unfortunately, but you can see what I mean. You know what? I'll just freeze frame it and edit in if I do edit it. So yeah, texture, self-explanatory. It also has the 3 dots thing. I'm going to go over that at the end. Z offset. This is a little more advanced, but let's just say this part covers my particles. So you see how, like, I can't really see the particles? Well, Z offset is how close it appears. So it can, like, how close it is to the camera. So if I set this to 10, look what happens. I can see it through the part. If I set it to 200, it just bugs out. But if I set it to like 20, see how I can see it all the way from here? Just like, now if you get too close, they'll disappear. So, but yeah. So that's Z offset. And then if you press Command Z, it does. So that's Z offset. So, now that we've learned everything in appearance, I'm going to make something of my own real quick just to kind of show how things work. And then I'm going to go back to normal. And I'm just kind of making something quickly. It's not like going to be super complicated. And then it's just -0.2. Yeah. You can kind of see what you can do there. Alright, so that's me just toying around with that. I'm gonna stay with this blue, just, I don't know, looks cool. So, oh, now I can click on stuff, that's weird. So go back to your particle emitter. Now, we're gonna skip data. That, literally nothing there, that's just data. Emission. This is where you can get complicated with things, but this is probably the most important part. So, first we have emission direction. Pretty self-explanatory, but I'm gonna still go over it. So, emission direction. Top goes out the top. Back goes out the back. Oops, I closed it on accident. Bottom. Let me just move this up. Goes out the bottom. Front goes out the front. Left goes out the left. Oops. Right goes out the right. I'm just going to stick with top for now, but you get that. Now, lifetime. This is the really important thing. Like, so, you'll see how some particles, I'm going to just say die and come alive. I don't know. It's just easy. So when I say, like, a particle comes alive, that means it appears. And when I say it dies, that means it disappears. You'll notice how it goes up. Some will, like, die earlier than others. So see how some are, like, disappearing right here, but then some are disappearing all the way up here? That's because some have a lifetime of 5, and some have a lifetime of 6, 7, 8, 9, or some have 10. So this is in seconds. So if I set lifetime to 1, the particle is only going to be alive for 1 second. So look, like 1, 0. See? If I set it to 5, it's going to be alive for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dead. See? Now, if I set it 1 to 3, some are going to stay alive 1 second. See? Here, let me do a more vast range so you can see. 1 to 10. You'll notice some are like just disappearing, dying. I'm just going to say disappearing and appearing. That's easier. Some are disappearing here. And then some are disappearing all the way up here. So yeah, that's that. I'm going to stick with 5. Rate. Another really important thing. Goes well with lifetime. If I set it to 1, only 1 particle per second. See? Only 1 particle spawns per second. If I set it to 10, 10 particles spawn per second. If I set it to 60, which I believe is the highest, 60 particles spawn per second. So you can see how dense that is. So 60. Let's see if I can go to 100. Let's test this. Oh, it looks like I can. So look at 100. You see how dense this is? And then look at like 0.1. Look how slow it comes. That's... Look. Not... Still hasn't come. Still hasn't come. Yeah. So, you get that. I'm going to keep this at like 5 right now. Rotation. So, also, these little drop downs, when I was saying like lifetime, you don't have to type in a comma. You can just type it there, but commas are just easier for me. Rotation. This rotates it. We want it rotated 45 degrees. We can rotate it 45 degrees. We want it rotated 20 degrees. We can rotate it 20 degrees. We want it to be randomly rotated between -30 and 120. We can do that. See? Look. Easy. Okay. Rot speed. Exact same thing as rotation. It's just how fast it actually rotates. 5. See how it's rotating? Just very slowly. 360. Look how fast it's rotating. 0 to 360. Some don't rotate at all. Some rotate very fast. Also, when I say 0, 360, it's not some are going to only be at 0. Some are going to be at 360. It's minimum 2 maximum. Let's just keep this at 0 for now. Speed. Another fun thing. Set it to 0. Particles don't move. They just spawn. Set it to 1. They move very, very, very slowly. Also, any change you make will not include any old particles. So if I make a change right now, this particle is going to stay the same. Watch what I mean. So let's move this right here. Notice how... Oh, well, okay, with color, maybe not. But sometimes it's going to be like this. Like, let me finish speed. See how I go to 10? See how there's still some slow ones? Yeah. Here's 10 speed. Really fast. 100, they're just going off to space. So, yeah. Spread angle. This is a fun one. You'll notice how it's only going up. And you're like, oh, well, just change the emission direction. Yeah, well, you can do that. But notice how I can only do one emission direction? Well, the spread angle, we can choose how far it spreads. So, if we do -20 to 20, you'll see how they kind of drift a little. So they can go 20 degrees either. Here, let's set it to 45 because I can kind of trace out 45. They can go 45 degrees in any direction. So they can go 45 degrees that way, 45 degrees that way, 45 degrees that way, that way, that way, that way, blah, 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 so forth. So it's basically the amount that it can go. Let's set this to negative 360, 360, and look, now they're going everywhere. Also, sometimes I like to just set it to negative 1,000, so I know they'll go any direction. It has no benefit. I just like doing that for some reason. So, yeah. Cool. I'm going to keep this at 0. Just keep things simple. Alright. Emitter shape. This is pretty confusing. I still don't fully know, so I'll kind of just say. You have a box shape. So this is a box shape. Then choose box. You have a cylinder. Choose cylinder. Disc. Choose disc. Sphere. Choose sphere. Now, the reason that it lets you choose is, let's say you have a ball, but you still want it spawning in a box like this. So let me show you what I mean. Also, I'm going to make this part invisible now so you can see the particles. So, actually, let me do like 0.8. So you can still see the box, but barely. So, oops, not that. Let's grab a sphere. And, once again, 0.8. So if you right click on this and click copy, then click on this part and just click paste into, everything is the exact same as it is on this part. So I can show you now, since this is a ball shape, what it does when I do sphere. You won't really notice anything except for the fact that it's like I added a spread angle. That's about it. So it just goes in the shape that the particle is. I'm gonna delete this now. Now, outward, inward. So inward, the particles go in, which is just down. It's kind of, if I make it like a big cube. So notice how they're emitting from the top. Well, now they're going inward instead of outward. So watch, if I emit from the bottom, it's gonna go up instead. See? Because it's going inwards. Now, if I do in and out, it's gonna go both in, so up. Here, let me just stay with emitting from the top. So it's gonna sometimes go in, which is down, and sometimes go out, which is up. This is really more useful when you're getting to kind of more complicated stuff, but yeah. Okay. Let's go back to this and make sure this is inward. Outward. Volume and surface. Volume, it will spawn within the entire volume of the block. Surface, it will only spawn on the surface. So watch. If I do this, make it kind of a cube again. I keep making this a cube and then undoing it. So, and in fact, let's slow this down to 0 so you can see where they spawn. So surface, this is where they spawn. Volume, this is where they spawn. See? So they can spawn anywhere in there. Alright, one last thing. Okay, actually not last thing. A few more things. We're gonna skip flipbooks because, being honest, I don't know flipbooks yet. I don't understand them. I haven't really learned, but they're super fun to use. I've used them, but I've just used like packs or had my friends help me. They're basically just animated particles, which is pretty cool. Okay. Drag. Also, I'm gonna skip acceleration as well. Pretty self-explanatory, but I'm gonna make another video getting more advanced stuff with this, and I'm also gonna make a video on beams. So let's just set the speed to 10. Pretty fast, right? But let's say we want them to slow down. and have like a drag effect. So almost like air resistance building up. Think about when you jump, how you eventually come back down. Well, pretend it's that, but you never go back down. You just stop midair. So let's set this to 1. See how they go up really fast and then kind of drag and then stop? That's drag. If I set it to 10, look, they go super fast and they instantly stop. If I set it to like 0.2, you'll notice they slowly slow down. And in fact, they despawn before they even come to a stop. But yeah, that's drag. Lock to part. Let's say this part is moving. So, see how when I do this, the particles do that? Like they go in zigzags? I think it'll do this if I lock it. If I lock it, see how the particles stay with it? Yep, that's basically just locked apart. It stays even if the part moves. Alright, last thing. Going back to color, size, and transparency. When you click on the 3 dots, you get this cool little thing. So, so these arrows here, you can click on them, you can change the color. Let's say I went black here, and let's just go green here. You'll notice they start off black, but then they go green. Pretty cool, right? Now, you can click anywhere on here to add another arrow, and let's set this at directly 0.5. What if we make it so it turns, this goes black, and then it goes green, and then black. So look, it goes black, and then it turns, actually, let's just do like another color. Let's go purple. So look, it goes black, and then it turns purple, and then it goes black again at the top. So you can do pretty cool stuff with that. Now, also, like with light emissions, see how you can't see that it's black? But it is still pretty cool. Now, size. This might seem confusing. It's not. Let's say we want it really tiny at the start. So, you just drag the square down, and really big at the end. You just drag that square up. Look at that. Now, this is another thing where you can add points. So, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this. We can do this. And this. Here, let's just do this. Like, really big. Actually, okay. Kind of medium, and then not seeable, and then instantly big. And kind of small again, and then like big. Gradually bigger. Oops. So you can see that. I don't know what envelope does, but the value is the actual size, and the time is what it'll be. So, when I say is what it'll be, the time is always going to be used as 1 second for a reference. So let's say the particles stay alive for 10 seconds. So this is the first second, second second, third second, fourth second, fifth second, sixth second, seventh, eighth, ninth. Sorry. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. If it was 20 seconds, this would be 0, this would be 2, this would be 4, this would be 6, this would be 8, so on and so forth. You get it. Transparency. Exact same thing as size. It's just you can control when it's invisible and when it's not. The higher it is, the more invisible. So let's say, oops, we want it fully invisible the entire time, but in the middle it comes on invisible. So look, it slowly comes like that, and then it gets fully non-invisible and then back invisible. But let's say we want it sudden. We can do this. Like, look at that. Like, it's, you can only, or let's invert this. So let me drag this down, and like that. So it just briefly goes invisible. In fact, if I just drag this here, look, see how it goes invisible there? Cool. Alright, let's go over one more thing, and this gets a little more complicated, but I'm still gonna show it anyways. And let it just completely reset and everything. I know basically the only thing I need to reset is the color. So let's just make it red now. Oh. You see how it spawns through the entire part? Well, let's say you want it directly in the center or just like directly right here. So we're gonna go to our part, press the plus button, type in attachment. Now, this little green orb is your attachment. You can drag it anywhere inside the part and outside the part. It literally does not matter. Just do it anywhere you want. And make sure to click the move tool up here to do that. But let's just keep it in the center right now. I think that's the center. It might be a little off because I moved it. So, you'll notice the attachment is under my part. And you have the particle emitter. Drag the particle emitter into the attachment. Now look, it's in the attachment. Let's just make the rate insanely high so you can see what's going on here. So if I make the rate 20, you'll see how it's directly in the center. If I drag it out of the attachment, look at that. You notice that difference? And with attachment, look, I can click on the attachment. I can like rotate it. So now you can like do stuff that makes the attachment spin. So you could do stuff like this, but I'm not going to get into that because that's scripting. You can move the attachment. You could even move it outside the part. Look where the attachment is relative to the part. So yeah, that's pretty much the basics to particles, and hope that helped. Bye.